A faded photograph from the 1950s, golden boy smile, Hollywood lights, betrays little of the secrets and storms hidden just beyond its polished edges. In an era when everything looked perfect on the outside, some stories were stitched together with silence, fear, and a desperate hunger to belong. Is it possible for someone adored by millions to feel utterly invisible? Can the world's brightest spotlight still leave someone standing in the dark? The name Tab Hunter once echoed through every teenage bedroom, his face pinned to walls and hearts alike. But behind that poster-perfect image was Arthur, an abandoned boy carrying a secret too dangerous to share and a truth too heavy to hide. Arthur Gillian was born in 1931, long before anyone would call him a star. His name wasn't even written properly on his birth certificate. No father's name, no family unity, just a young German immigrant mother struggling to raise two boys alone in Depression-era New York. His early years were steeped in poverty and cold discipline. Emotional warmth was rare, and in the strict halls of his Catholic upbringing, love often felt more like punishment than peace. When his father walked out, it wasn't just a physical absence, it was a haunting silence that lingered through every chapter of his life. By the time his family moved to Los Angeles in the 1940s, Arthur's childhood had already left its scars. Though he grew into stunning good looks that would later define an era, inside, he felt awkward and distant, like he didn't belong anywhere. And there was another secret growing inside him, one that frightened him more than poverty or neglect ever had: his attraction to men. In a society where homosexuality was not just frowned upon but branded as criminal and sick, this part of himself became something he tried to bury deep. Back then, gay men were subjected to institutional abuse, electroshock therapy, blackmail, even prison. There was no space for softness in a world obsessed with hard ideals. In his teens, Arthur drifted through odd jobs, supermarkets, stables, wherever he could find peace or distraction. But it was with horses that he found something resembling peace. Among animals, he didn't have to pretend. Horseback riding became a quiet salvation, a way to escape the loud, cruel judgments of people. He didn't know it then, but this simple connection would become a guiding thread throughout his life, grounding him even as fame tried to untether his soul. It was at a stable that fate finally intervened. A man named Dick Clayton, an actor-turned-agent, saw something in Arthur, a rawness, a quiet intensity, and potential that no one had nurtured before. With Clayton's encouragement, Arthur reinvented himself. The name Tab Hunter was born, strong, simple, unforgettable. The first step toward becoming someone the world would worship, even if they never truly knew him. Hollywood loved its idols shiny and uncomplicated. With Warner Brothers and Jack Warner at the helm, Tab was sculpted into the all-American heartthrob. Blue eyes, blonde hair, chiseled jaw, he was every girl's dream, the perfect date their mothers would approve of. But beneath the PR machine's fantasy was a young man crumbling under the pressure of pretending. Studio contracts dictated everything: where he went, who he smiled at, even who he was seen with. His early movies weren't about talent, they were about image. Critics tore his acting apart, but audiences didn't care. They lined up to see him in films like Battle Cry and The Girl He Left Behind, not for performances, but for the fantasy. Behind the cameras, the lies ran deep. Publicists arranged fake romances with co-stars like Natalie Wood and Debbie Reynolds, sweet, photogenic moments designed to quiet the whispers about Tab's sexuality. It was more than deception. It was survival. He had to smile while dying inside, watching people write headlines about a life he wasn't living. At home, things weren't any easier. His mother, the only family he had left, suffered a mental breakdown. Tab paid for her electric shock treatments, an irony too bitter to ignore, as the very therapy society used to fix people like him was now being used on the woman who had raised him. Still, he stood by her, loyal even when his own world was shattering. Then came the 1950 police raid, an illegal gay gathering that nearly ended his career before it truly began. A mysterious studio lawyer swooped in, smoothing the scandal over and burying the details, but the fear never left him. Living with the constant dread of being exposed was a weight few could carry. His own agent, Henry Wilson, who once controlled the careers of Rock Hudson and other closeted stars, eventually turned on him. After bitter arguments, Wilson leaked damaging stories to the press. It was betrayal of the highest order. And yet, Tabb continued on, switching agents and finally earning roles that asked more of him as an actor. But the damage lingered. Confidential magazine, Hollywood's most vicious tabloid, published a scandalous article outing Tabb's arrest from that 1950 pajama party. The headlines were cruel, the intent clear, to destroy him. Yet somehow, the public still adored him. Maybe it was denial, maybe love. Maybe they just weren't ready to lose their golden boy. While others like Rock Hudson were protected through backdoor deals, Tabb became a target. And still, he showed up to set, learned his lines, and wore the smile the world expected. In the shadows, though, he lived a different life. Quiet, cautious, and full of risk. He shared a 4-year relationship with fellow actor Anthony Perkins, a love both profound and hairless. They lived like shadows, passing in hallways, never photographed together, always aware that one wrong move could destroy everything. Studio publicists continued pairing him with women, crafting narratives for magazines while the truth stayed locked behind closed doors. Worse still, those closest to him sometimes used his secret as leverage. He endured blackmail, threats, emotional extortion, all to preserve a version of himself that didn't really exist. Musically, Tabb sought more than acting. He sang too, and his song Young Love became a chart-topping hit, even rivaling Elvis. But no matter how high he soared, the ceiling above him felt lower than ever. After leaving Warner Brothers, his career stumbled. He drifted into low-budget films, TV guest spots, and dinner theater, a hard, unglamorous life that paid bills but bruised the spirit. Loneliness settled in, made worse when his brother Walt was killed in Vietnam, robbing him of the one person who had truly understood him. The 1960s and 70s were a quiet fall from grace. Tabb was no longer the poster boy. He was a curiosity, a relic of a different era mocked by tabloids and ignored by casting directors. But he refused to surrender. He sued for defamation when rumors went too far. He kept his head down, worked when he could, and waited. That wait paid off in the most unexpected way. In the 1980s, cult filmmaker John Waters brought him back into the spotlight, not as the clean-cut hero of yesterday, but as a self-aware, hilarious icon of camp cinema. Polyester and Lust in the Dust introduced Tabb to a new generation, one that embraced his past, his humor, and finally, his truth. By then, Tabb had found something more valuable than fame: love. He met Alan Glazer, a Fox executive who left his career to support Tabb's life and legacy. Their relationship lasted more than 3 decades, culminating in marriage in 2015. For a man who had once lived in constant fear of being outed, it was a quiet but powerful triumph. Tabb never paraded his private life, but he stopped hiding it too. His final years were spent far from red carpets, surrounded by horses, nature, and the peace he'd sought since boyhood. Raising animals, tending land, these simple pleasures became his salvation. His 2005 autobiography, Tabb Hunter Confidential, revealed the man behind the myth. The accompanying documentary in 2015 brought his story to wider audiences, showing the complexity, charm, and courage he carried through decades of silence. Artists, actors, and fans across generations paid tribute to the boy who never quite fit in, the man who never gave up. From Divine to Clint Eastwood, from record charts to cult classics, his influence endured. Tabb Hunter's life wasn't about glitz. It was about grit. He was a gay man who survived one of the most unforgiving times in American entertainment, and while he often lived behind a mask, he never lost his sense of self. In a world that punished difference, he chose dignity. In a business built on illusions, he eventually embraced truth. He wasn't perfect, and he never claimed to be. But that's what made his story so human, so lasting. When he passed away in 2018, the headlines were respectful, reflective, and loving, something unthinkable decades before. He had lived long enough to see the world change, and though he never got to live his youth freely, he helped pave the way for others to do so. Tab Hunter remains more than a name. He's a reminder that authenticity, though dangerous in its time, becomes a legacy in the end. If you found this story powerful or inspiring, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more stories that deserve to be heard. Thanks for watching.